Sometimes the enemy just don't stop. And it feels like we don't know how to do what we need to do to get over our hurt. And sometimes we lose our own ways. But God is right there pulling you back. And so there was a time when the enemy said before God in the book of Job, I've come from walking to and fro of the earth, trying everybody. And now I want to try this guy. And God was like, nah. But he kept on, and God was moved, it said. And then he said, all right, go ahead. But God was still with Job at that time. So here it says that Jesus came in the likeness of sinful flesh and for sin. And this man had to die so that we could be made free. He carries all us on his cross, on his shoulders. He's holding us up. The ways of the world sometimes can be confusing. But when you see him, then you know that he has a peace already established for you. And there's a lot of other things that he has prepared for us when we get there. We must be in the kingdom of the Spirit. And so, when the manna of bread came down in the days of Moses, they ate bread to live. When Jesus came down from the bread of heaven, he said, any man who eats this bread shall live forever and shall have life in the world. So just because a child in the kingdom is running around rampant until he gets right, doesn't mean that everybody is not righteous. Because there's a way that God has allowed us to think. And by accepting the righteousness which came down from heaven, and by eating his bread and trying to read him and be like him, we too who seek God can be righteous. Because those who seek him, there's no uncleanliness and no unrighteousness in those who seek God. That's what the word says. So, being holy and righteous in the flesh, because he cleans the inside, and he also cleans the outside. Sometimes mortifying the deeds of the flesh can be a hard thing. Okay? Now, let's turn to Luke 4:6. It says, and the devil said unto him, Jesus, all this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will give it. So, seeing that Lucifer was in a cherub one time in heaven, and God had made everything perfect, something entered into the heart of Lucifer, greed. Greed and envy, because he wanted what God had. He wanted what the other person had. He wanted something better, and he didn't know how to do it, so he thought like Cain killed Abel because he got jealous, because God accepted the other person and not him. So here, the devil who was kicked out of heaven now has a lot of power in this world. And he's telling Jesus, I will hook you up if you serve me, if you bow down to me. But we must stand up against the wiles of the enemies, which is sometimes our own self. And learning how to cast away cigarettes and smoking and drinking, and those things are hard to do on our own. But when we learn and eat his bread and his knowledge and understand who he is, then we too can have this spirit inside of us that removes those things from us, because we want it to be removed. And it comes in time, or it can happen through a miracle.